Back from the hospitality show in Vegas, Anthony. Congrats to you for launching Hotel All-Stars.
Yeah, and I personally hold you responsible for losing my glasses.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Everybody, welcome back to No Vacancy Live. Anthony Mulcahy over there. I'm Glenn Hausman. Anthony, what you got to do is you got to hook yourself up with like a subscription service for glasses. I lose so many pairs. I'm always going to warbyparker.com and ordering new ones.
I lose once. It's almost to the days, one a year.
Right.
And actually, the last picture I took with those glasses, you were in the picture. So I hold you responsible. What great shows, man! What great shows. I was at High Tech in Toronto.
Yep.
Did a book signing.
Forgot about that. That was like last week, but it seems like forever. Go on.
Did a book signing out there.
Yep.
And then was on stage at the Q&A, and then we announced the show with AHLA, and the kind of hat's out of the bag, or the cat's out of the bag, or something's out of the bag.
Yeah.
And and so now we're working on 3 or 4 more episodes, and really excited. So
Excellent.
We'll talk more about it. I'm sure you and I will talk more about it in different episodes.
Right. Today we got a banger of a show. We got multiple guests. I feel like we're going back in spirit of the show to COVID times, but the story completely the opposite over there. We're going to start off today with Mike Taylor, JD Power. But before I bring him on, I did want to say that, Anthony, yesterday, over 2 million people went through TSA. And on June 30th, 2.884 million went through TSA, which I think has got to be close to a record over there. Let's find out. Let's bring in Michael Taylor over at JD Power. Michael, it's so great to see you, man.
Hey, guys. And you are right. That is a record by a very slight margin. Beat the record from 2019. So
the 2.88 million people that traveled, 2.8 were late.
just seems that way. That's all. So we were talking about this in the green room before. What causes this thing is, the airlines are sort of learning as they go along here. They really have been in a spot where they're trying to make as much cash as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. And you can see if they're making the cash in the earnings. They're not making a profit per se, but they are bringing in cash. And they're running very lean. They're running a schedule that doesn't have a lot of slack to it. So anytime there's any kind of significant weather, as we saw over this last holiday weekend, that has a cascade effect across the entire United States. Right. And what they were betting on was that the weather would be benign like it had been in the previous 2 holiday periods, and they'd skate by with the skin of their teeth. But the problem is, you get weather delays, crew times out, and there's no crew in reserve to take over that flight. And that flight doesn't make it to the next destination and doesn't make it to the third destination.
That's right. And that's something that happened to me recently when I was in my last trip to the Harry Reid Airport in Las Vegas. The second I got out of the cab and stepped my foot on airport soil, I got the text message saying, hey, your flight's been delayed 5 hours. So I did a little bit of investigating into it, and there was a small malfunction that needed to be fixed. Then there was a weather situation because that set them back. And then the cruise timed out. So I got hit by the trifecta of all of that.
Well, I will tell you, I've traveled a lot the last week as well. And I just want to say thank you, Delta. I was not delayed 1 second.
Listen, Delta has got I've got so much equity with them right now. They could make me wait 5 hours, and I'm pretty forgiving about it. But Michael, what's interesting to me is 2.884 million people went through TSA gates. That's surprising to me because I didn't think we had the capacity in service right now to even make that happen. Over the last year or so, Anthony and I have been positing that they probably could be having more people come through the doors, but there just isn't enough crews. There isn't enough airplanes because of the reaction to what happened in the early months of COVID. Where are we at right now with that? And I guess a place to start is, are we accurate with that assessment?
I would say you're fairly accurate. The swing factor here is load factor. What percentage of seats are filled? Right. And that's what really causes the biggest hassle when you have a flight that's delayed or canceled, especially canceled. So you're sitting at the airport. I was supposed to leave here on a Wednesday, and they're going to tell you, okay, the next time you can fly is Friday. And that's happening more and more often. So people are kind of stranded for, a great length of time. And then it just backs up at the airport. Mm-hmm. And that's when the camera crews show up, to show all the people sitting on the floor, because it happens very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It is that cascade effect. And that's what's been happening. The high load factors are making flights very efficient and, cash cows for the airlines, but they're still paying for equipment that isn't flying. So they have assets that are sitting around, not, generating any revenue. And that's why their earnings aren't as high. So what they really, really want to do is get more aircraft in the air. And that means more pilots behind the seats. And that is the rub right there. That is the constraining factor.
Well, maybe it's a note to self. Don't lay off everybody during the pandemic.
Well, I'm telling you, they hired a bunch of those people back at about 50% more than they were making before COVID. Yeah, so it's a great time to be a qualified airline pilot. You're going to make as much money as you could ever make in your entire career.
How about a barely qualified podcaster? Got any airline jobs for me?
Sure. Yeah, sure. As long as you pass the test.
Well, I don't know if you can answer these questions, but this is, to me, is like, with everything that's going on in the economy, with you're hearing, of Walmart and other people saying people are just buying essentials. What the hell's going on? Everybody I know is traveling. Everybody I know is going on a vacation. What is going on?
I might say travel is essential.
Yeah, well, you could say that. It's certainly part of the human condition. I think it is still pent-up demand. And as I've been saying, I've been quoting Herb Stein, the famous economist from years ago, who said that, I'm paraphrasing him, of course, if something is too good to last, it won't. And currently, it's still surprising everybody how much this pent-up demand is lasting. People are saying, okay, I will pay $600 for a ticket that I paid, in 2019, $350 for, because I really want to go. And I feel like if I don't go now, I can't go in anywhere in the near future. So we still have that pent-up animal spirits, pent-up demand, revenge travel, whatever you want to call it, is still a factor. On the swing side of things, we do a quarterly forecast of business travel, with the U.S. Travel Association and Oxford Economics, and we have been dead flat at about 80% for business travel. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we can do things like this. We can meet virtually instead of actually going to Atlanta and meeting face to face. But most of it is, it's so darn expensive to buy a business ticket, and I'm booking in the previous 10 days, which makes it even more expensive. And the corporations, especially the big ones, are saying, hey, no, let's not do that. And so that's holding everything back on the business side of travel. But the leisure side has just exploded and continues to surprise everybody.
Yeah, it sure does.
I have a couple of friends. I have a couple of friends that kind of travel at very high level, and all they do
38,000 feet.
All they do is bitch and moan about that. Now these 5-star hotels, they used to pay $600, they're paying $1,800.
Yeah,
but they're still going.
They're still going. Yeah, eventually catch up with them. I mean, they're going to say, okay, I've done that. I've been there. I'm not paying that amount of money. And then you're going to see the demand crater very quickly, I believe.
Yeah. So Glenn, he's still paying it, man. He's still going to those $1,800 rooms.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I am not staying in $1,800 rooms. So I find it interesting what you're saying about business travel in your survey, that it's remained flat, because it did feel to me last September, October, it came back like a rocket. And then it's kind of steady. Now, I don't base that on facts and figures. I base that on being able to get upgraded, right? So, because that's kind of the unofficial bellwether, because I don't travel as frequently as the hardcore sales person, right?
Yeah, and that's a question I get all the time. How come I'm not being upgraded? I'm saying because there's a paying passenger sitting in your seat, which the airline would much rather have that person paying $1,200 than you getting upgraded from a $400 seat.
Right. So I used to get upgraded all the time, and it vanished. Now it's shaky.
Yeah. And, what it did go from 60 to 80% pretty quickly, and then just leveled off. It's been in the low 80s in our quarterly forecast for the last 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And I personally like those $400 seats that get upgraded.
Everybody does.
Yeah. I got a flight coming up, and the offer to upgrade was $1,009 for like a 3.5-hour flight. I'm like, it's all right.
Or you can just wait.
Plus.
I love the fact when I book it, sometimes I get immediately upgraded to first class. I don't even have to call or beg or get on the wait list. I'm like, I like that.
Well, that's because you book last minute.
Yeah, I get those offers too, like $700 for first class. I said, I'll just wait a few minutes and maybe you'll upgrade me. But it's just fascinating to me. And listen, for all the travel, I'm going to knock wood here, for all the nightmares, for everything you hear about the backups, for everything you hear, the crazy people on the flights. I don't know. Maybe I'm just blessed, but I go through the airports. I don't see crazy people. I get on the airplanes. I don't see crazy people. I don't see long lines. I'm not seeing delays, outside of from time to time. It seems to me, and maybe I'm just living in a bubble, but it seems to me, and I'm going through the same airports, getting on the same planes, whether you buy, a business class seat or a coach seat or an economy seat where you don't even pick your seat until you get on a plane. I've had, again, knock wood. They're doing the best they can, I guess. I mean, it's really crazy going for, and especially specifically the people, the flight attendants and the pilots and the people supporting the planes. I haven't had bad service.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really just, it's easy to report it now because people have cell phones with video on it. And I think it's the same amount of craziness that we've had post-COVID, because it did go up. We have the profile of people traveling. They're a lot less experienced now, and they kind of have different expectations that you should just bow down to me and I should get on this plane. That's right. Whether it's taking off or not, I should be able to get on that plane.
Were you on? Are you following me around when I'm traveling?
Yeah, right. You should, be careful because somebody's going to video you.
I know, right? You got to be very careful.
I had somebody say to me a couple weeks ago, the flight was late, 20 minutes. It was like it meant nothing to me, and because I always make sure I put in enough time. And he said, "Can you believe this?" And I go, "It's better than showing up dead."
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's a good place. That's a good place.
They're very good about not crashing.
Right, it's a good place to start wrapping it up. How awesome is it that our air travel system is so great that we can worry about things like me having to wait a little too long to get into the Sky Lounge, as opposed to worrying about making it to my destination.
I've been doing this study here for 20 years, and it has greatly improved in the last 10. Mm-hmm. And people have a hard time believing that. But if you went back and were traveling 10, 15 years ago, you'd have a lot more hassle, and it'd be a lot more uncomfortable than it is today.
There used to be a hotel at JFK. I won't say the brand, but it was called the Heartbreak Hotel was the nickname. And anytime there's an aircraft crash, they would collect everyone and their families there. You don't see that anymore. I don't think we've had a domestic incident in years for a major commercial.
No, last death I think was a Southwest flight about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was the max.
One woman died. That was it.
Yeah,
there was unfortunately the second, or maybe the number one worst aircraft crash in the country was in my neighborhood.
Off the coast here on Long Island.
The one going to go
right after 9/11, right?
Yeah. I live 10 minutes from JFK, so the engine literally landed probably 200 yards from my house.
Woo. That's a story.
Oh, that is a story.
Thank God I wasn't living in the house at the time. True story.
It's getting a little weekend now, Anthony. You got to put that story a little bit.
Wait. I know we got to go, but real true story is I was looking at a house next door to the house that the plane crashed into 24 hours before the plane crashed.
Okay.
True story.
Wow. Let's go.
Michael, give us some good parting words.
Okay. Well, I think that, I think probably by the end of the year, we're going to see a little bit leveling off in demand. I think we're going to have a little bit leveling of prices if they're not going to come down a little bit, because I think this demand is going to be over by the end of the year.
Good. All right. I like hearing that. Well, let's get you back when things change a little bit. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Bye, guys.
I appreciate it. Michael Taylor, JD Power. All right. So this is our airline hotel-y kind of featured show. The reason why I say airlines is because we got a company here that's bridging the gap between airlines and hotels. I'm super excited, Anthony, because you know me, I like to feel special. And when I go through the airport and I use Clear, I feel pretty darn special over there. Except I keep getting those random ID checks lately. I probably need to do something with my irises or something like that. All right, let's bring on Jane Stanton, head of travel and hospitality at Clear, as well as Mr. Branigan Mulcahy, co-founder of Verdi, and may have just been winners of a tech prize at the AHOA conference that Anthony and I may have been judging over there. So welcome, guys. Great to see you. Jane, you're on mute. There you go.
Great to be here.
All right. So, Jane, let me start off with you. I love the Clear service. I think it's great. And one of the more fun things about it is when I go to Madison Square Garden and I'm going to a concert and I see all those suckers waiting on the regular line, I got my Clear app and I'm just getting right in there. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally biased on both accounts because I love Clear and I love MSG. I actually used to work there.
Oh, no way.
Well, yeah. Best of both worlds for me. Every time that I go there, I'm like doubly proud and excited. And it definitely makes the experience way better.
So Jane, I'm a little confused because you must be confused because it looked like you went to school and worked in Boston and then went to market New York sports teams. That must have been really difficult.
You know, here's what I'll say. I'm a hockey fan first, then a Rangers fan second. I was proudly at BC for 2 national championships and worked for them there. So it was hard not to. Always love, seeing some of the guys from school who went and were really successful playing for the Bruins and for other teams. But the Rangers will always have my heart.
Awesome. So, of course, we know that Clear is a great way to speed through the airports and other places like MSG and even more places like hotels, which we'll get into in a second. But Branigan, great to see you, friend. Why don't you share real quick what Verdi is all about?
Sure. So we're a B2B software company selling mostly to hotels. And our core system automates what happens at the front desk of a hotel. So if you think about like whenever you check in traditionally, you're walking up to a front desk agent, giving them your driver's license, giving them your credit card, waiting while they assign you a room. Maybe they upsell you and eventually they give you room keys. We automate that process with software and we interface with guests directly via mobile apps and also an app that we built for an iPad that we put in some lobbies for our clients.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Anthony?
I was impressed when we were sitting on the panel judging you guys. First of all, your presentation.
And yes, and Branigan, we were actually judging you personally, not Jerry.
No, we were.
That's why I dressed up.
Your presentation was spectacular. But let me just go back for a second and talk about Clear. Thank you. You're the one thing that works all the time. Everybody's always pleasant. I'm a 2-hour before the airport, before I take off guy. So I'm never running through the airport. But I could, because Clear is always spot on. Your people always friendly. They always say welcome back. They always are very gentle with putting me in front of everyone and like kind of being, no one's ever yelled at me for cutting in front of the line because I'm Clear. But it's one of those technologies that it's what you want, where you want it, and it works all the time. And there's so many technologies, specifically in hotels, and that's why I'm really glad to hear about what's going on with Verdi, because we usually screw up technology in the hotel business. So if you guys are working together, I know it's not going to be screwed up because your technology is flawless. And I use it. I'm probably one of your favorite guests. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, the only flaw that I see in it is every time that picture of me comes up, I have to stare at myself.
Okay,
and
so
I feel like I'm at the DM.
I consider that really a badge of honor. Like my profile picture is equally it is spooky. But it is true. It is authentic. I consider it to be a badge of honor. The worse your profile picture, the better your experience as far as I'm concerned.
And I'll tell you, what I love about the Clear service and the same thing with what you're doing here in hospitality is it creates that sense of dependability. Yeah. Like I know I'm like Anthony. I like being there 90 minutes plus for a flight, but I know typically, I'm going to get through the airport security portion in 2 to 5 minutes max, and that to me, for people who travel so much, adds to that sense of comfort that we need. So you at least don't have that thing to worry about.
I love the fact I don't have pre-check, and so people are, you have pre-check? How you travel 1,000,000 miles? How do you have pre-check? I go, I don't need it. Then your lines are longer than my lines, so bye.
How do you not have pre-check?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because everything that you're touching on is exactly what it is that we've been applying to our out of the airport product. And I was at a conference about a month ago, and Scott Galloway was actually the keynote speaker, and he just proactively brought Clear up, and he was talking about time as a product. And I thought that was a really interesting and unique way to put it. And that predictability and dependability is something that's so important to us. Our goal and our product promise has always been to make experiences safer and easier. And your identity is a really important way of being able to do that.
Yeah. Excellent. Sorry about that, guy. I don't know what I did over there. My apologies. No, for some reason, our LinkedIn feed just went dead. I don't know what happened.
I was hysterical. I was like, Glenn, you're on.
Yeah. So sorry. guys. And I was also trying to the same moment to say, hey, don't worry, Branigan, I'm going to bring you in just a second to tie this all together. So,
how are you guys working together? How's it tied together?
Hey, there you go. Thank you, Branigan. Back to you. And this time I'll do this just to create the right mood.
Oh, nice. Yes, perfect. I love it. I was like, where did Jane go? Where did Jane go? Yeah. So in January of this year, Clear and Verdi launched our first hotel jointly. And that's the Mirage in Las Vegas. Have you guys been to the Mirage?
Never heard of it. Is it
it's somewhere in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I want everybody to know.
I just fell off a plane from Vegas.
We're just there. I just saw. I haven't seen it in a long time. I just watched the volcano show because I know it's going to be going away. Unlike what you're doing with Mirage, which will be staying when it changes names over to Hard Rock.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was recently purchased by Hard Rock, and part of the transition was to develop a system that could check in a high percentage of their guests if they chose that experience. So it was our first time working with Clear directly in a partnership that we hope expands more broadly across the industry, and we think that will. But how does Clear and how do Verdi work together with hotels? I think it's an important question because remember that front desk experience I was just talking about where like you go and you do the driver's license, the credit card, and that whole thing.
Yep.
So Clear is that critical component of validating identity. But the problem with the front desk experience now is every single time you check into a hotel, you have to show your driver's license to somebody. We only want to do that once.
Right.
We want to turn the thousands of times doing that down to just one time. And we want that to apply across the broader hotel universe. Clear does that particular piece very, very well, as you guys have seen. But getting to the Clear element in the flow is where Verdi kind of handles kind of the bookends. So Verdi specializes in end-to-end guest experience. So pre-arrival communication, telling you about your reservation. So, hey, Glenn, we see you're checking into this hotel. You have a straight to room option available. We bring you into the system. When we set up a profile, we use Clear to validate that identity, but then it comes into how do you provide your credit card for incidentals? How do you potentially upgrade your room? How do you get a key to your room? That whole end-to-end experience is what Verdi does. And in partnership, we kind of stitch those things together to create that super seamless end-to-end experience.
So explain to me the first time I walk into the Mirage and I'm checking in and there's a line of 50 people. What happened?
So before you even got to Mirage, you received an email, maybe an SMS that said, hey, Anthony, you're coming tomorrow. Skip the line, check in now. You click a deep link that's in that email or the SMS. You go to a web app, right? So you don't have to download an app. You just go straight in. And then there's some things you have to do to complete your check-in process, everything we just described. So the first thing is you got to verify your identity with Clear. If you are a Clear member, which we now know that both of you are, all you have to do is take a selfie, right? Because it bounces off your existing Clear profile. It says, okay, Glenn, Anthony, we know who you are. You can move forward.
All right, so I don't have to do, please stand closer.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
You do it with your phone mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're just doing it with your phone. It takes a quick capture. You drop in your credit card information. If you want to do an upgrade or anything else beyond that, it's optional. And then you're done. And then we start what's called like a room not ready flow. So, hey, we'll let you know when your room's ready and assigned to access. Then once you're done with that process, you get on property, you can stop by one of our iPad stations in the lobby, scan a QR code, and then get a room key. And that process takes like 5 to 10 seconds.
Now, does it know you're on property? Does it will you be able to identify that I'm on property?
Verdi, will we be able to identify?
Yeah.
So if you're using one of the native apps and there's some stuff that's unreleased yet, then absolutely yes. But for the web app piece, that's not part of the particular process. Okay,
but that's insane. And to me, it seems like this is going to take over the world. And it's crazy that this hasn't been going on for the last 10 years. So from a Clear standpoint, what do you think of the next I mean, I would imagine this is going to go through all the hotels. I mean, the worst thing to do is you go through a hotel in Vegas and you see 100 people standing in line, and your mind's blown. You're like, how is this possible in today's day and age?
The worst. And then there's 2 people at the desk.
Yeah, I mean, listen, traveling is hard and the travel experience is fragmented. And we've inserted ourselves in a place where we really want to make it easier. And so really important to just, I think, showcase for those who are listening. We have obviously our airport product, our Clear Plus product. That is our only paid B2C product. So at like one of our 54 airports, you don't have to wait in line at the airport. But then what it is that we have that's injected into the Verdi system is our Powered by Clear platform. So it leverages like that same core technology, but the difference is that you are able to leverage that service entirely for free. So for you guys going to Mirage, you're able to snap a selfie because you're already a Clear user. For somebody who's net new and has never used Clear, they're going to go through a process that takes less than 2 minutes for them to establish themselves and be able to reuse Clear anywhere that Clear is accepted. So what it is that we're doing, even outside of the hotel experiences, our partners at Avis Budget Group at 54 Avis locations, 24 budget locations, you don't have to wait in line. You can skip the counter if you're one of their preferred members because you can verify this is definitively Jane. She has a valid non-expired driver's license on file, and she's definitely over the age of 25. And that is the way to skip the counter. And similarly, like obviously in hotels, in healthcare, and then frankly, even on LinkedIn, where digital identity is becoming increasingly important so that you can have really authentic interactions with people.
Yeah, speaking of digital identity, when I was grabbing your titles today, I saw that you're both authenticated with Clear on LinkedIn, and I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, see, yeah.
So that launched in April, and it launched to 100% of users either late April or early May. And what you're able to do is go on, you click the button in your profile, and you'll see that there's going to be you're going to be prompted in even more ways in the future to do that. And you will go through the process of verifying your identity so that you are able to tell not only LinkedIn, but more importantly, your entire network that you are a verified, authentic user.
Like what the blue check used to be with Twitter when that was a thing.
Yeah. The better version, I guess.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
So you don't. So if I go to Mirage and I'm not a Clear member, I don't have to sign up for Clear?
So you'll go through a one-time verification process directly within the Verdi experience. It will take less than 2 minutes, and we're going to ask you for a valid, non-expired photo ID. So you can use a driver's license or a passport, any international passport with a few exceptions are accepted, in addition to a few other state IDs. We'll ask for your phone number, and then you're going to snap a selfie, and that will establish you within the Clear system so you can use it anywhere else that you want. And then the next time that you go to Mirage or one of Verdi's other you'll just have to snap a selfie.
But I'm trying to understand, but do you have to pay the fee to be a Clear? No. So if I go to the airport, can I now use it at the airport as well?
Yeah. So if you go to the airport, you'll go up to one of our ambassadors. They'll get you started in the enrollment process, and they'll say, hey, you're not a paying airport member yet. Do you want to?
Oh, I see.
And you could upgrade it.
Spotify Premium.
So it's a good marketing move for you. Now, Jane, I have a North Korean passport. Is that going to be a problem?
No, OFAC sanctioned countries now.
Okay. All right. Good.
So let me ask you a question. Sure. This seems insanely perfect for our industry, right? We need this, desperately need this. Why did it take so long?
All right, Branigan, why don't you answer this one?
In my opinion, it's about the fragmentation issue. So if you look at the entire market share of all the big brands that exist in the industry, like Marriott, biggest brand, global market share is like maybe 8%.
Right.
And it goes down from there. And so, I think the issue in tech adoption, using those types of clients is that they all have to kind of agree on something that kind of works across the board to really get scale. Yeah. And I think now we're finally getting to the point where the tech is advanced enough to where we're going to see widespread adoption of this. And there's kind of a fork in the road that we're sitting at right now, which is the brands kind of build their own, or they work with like a cross-brand platform. Right. And we're obviously hoping for the latter with the businesses that we're building at Verdi and Clear. But if you do that, then all of a sudden, you start seeing like super economies of scale. So compare this to a couple other industries that are highly fragmented. So you got restaurants, and you have like the taxi industry. Right. And in the past like couple decades, you've seen technologies emerge that have brought all those things together. So starting with like rideshare with Uber and Lyft, Now you have a business and personal profile. Your payments are in there. You can use it in any city you go to. That makes a ton of sense for a fragmented industry. With restaurants, you have ordering that's kind of brings it together, but you also have like Toast and Square and other providers that have sort of brought all these disparate systems together. So
they're doing it in parking lots too in New York. I go to the parking lot now and they don't give me a ticket. They send me a text message and that's it.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, one of Branigan's the competitors at the AHOA Tech event was doing a parking thing just like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So this is definitely coming, and I think we're going to see it unfold in the next 5 to 10 years. Exactly what form it takes kind of remains to be seen. But
now, will other property management systems have this technology too, or Clear is just working with Verdi? I'm asking.
So I'll let Jane respond to the Clear question.
I like asking tough questions.
Yeah, no, on the PMS side, so a lot of the PMSs, some of them, not all of them, they have a digital check-in option. And so you can do something there, but usually that requires you to add in an identity solution, and then you can only use it at properties with that PMS. So if you have a portfolio of properties that has a lot of different PMS systems, or say you're a brand that has a couple different PMSs that are supported, you would have to have fragmentation amongst those arrival experiences, and then you would lose the ability to do like portable credit card info, other portable guest info, and even like on the identity side, you might run into situations where Clear is only supported at certain ones. So it ruins the whole bringing everything together angle if you have just fragmentation amongst PMS solutions as well, which similar to the hotel space, the highest market share PMS is like 15%.
Wow, that's that's pretty low over there. I wouldn't have expected it, but
that's Opera, and they don't offer, to my knowledge, anything that's like kind of in our sphere, but they're an integration partner of ours. So if you have Opera, you can easily add Verdi on.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I know there's so much change going on right now with property management systems, for example, as everyone is trying to get through this and figure it all out. Jane, how many members are there of Clear right now? And I see you're expanding to new airports and stuff like that. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so we have 16 million on our platform. When I
how many? 16 million?
16 million verified users on our platform.
They were all in front of me at the Atlanta airport when I was leaving the Hunter conference, by the way. Yeah.
Yes, Atlanta airport is a hot and popular place to be, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yes, we have 16 million users on our platform. When I started at Clear actually in March 2020,
great timing.
One of the pandemic, we had just about 2 million. So that just shows you again how steep that growth curve.
Holy cow.
Unbelievable, right? Like it just has been really amazing. And
it was all you're doing, right? It was all you're doing. You did it all by yourself, right?
It was just me. If only. No, we had a Health Pass product that was launched during COVID, which
I remember that.
You used at Hunter conference.
I was about to say, at the Hunter conference, we used that when it came back in May of 21.
Yeah, and that's actually where Virdee and Clear, that's where we first met. So we helped bring guests back safely, but then we also made obviously a really important connection. And from a growth perspective, of course our airport business, but then our out of airport business, the Powered by Clear business. Again, in travel and hospitality, we focus specifically on hotels, rental cars, OTAs, online travel agencies, and short-term rentals. And then we also have an industry-specific vertical for healthcare where we have seen a lot of traction. Miami Health, WellStars being two of the marquee partners that we have on the healthcare side, and then partners like a LinkedIn and other marketplaces. So those are things that we're all really excited about that are going to continue to grow us. And the way that we want people to be able to use and leverage Clear is anywhere that it's accepted. So the same way that I have optionality for mobile payment, for instance, I should have optionality with my identity in the way that I want to prove that I am who I say that I am. And we are, really kind of leading the we're trailblazers, or we hope to be, in that, arena. And Verdi was, the first partner in the hotel space that really jumped on that and saw the value. And it's been great.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's when Clear first came out, you went slow you went diligently,
Yes.
everything worked. It worked all the time, and you built your brand slowly. You didn't come out of the gate, guns blazing, and blow yourself up, which many technology companies do. And as a user, and I've been a user for a long time, I appreciate that because it's always, I can count on it. The technologies that we use today, whether it be Amazon or when they work all the time, you use them more because you feel safety. You feel like if you're going somewhere, and I need, I don't know, whatever, I have to buy something and I know it's going to be here tomorrow at 12 o'clock, I can feel safe. I know that if I'm running late in the airport and I use Clear, I was like, I'm not going to go crazy. I know I'll be fine. So the way you built the business and the way you continue to build the business is really a model for how people should build businesses.
Yeah, I love that almost every airport I go to has it at this point domestically. And when it doesn't,
you have it in Italy. I had somebody in the back, my backyard barbecue yesterday say, I'm going to Italy. I just bought Clear to get through JFK. I said, first of all, it's the greatest investment you ever made. And he goes, is it in Italy? I said, I don't know. So is it in Italy or not?
What is your international expansion plans if you could even possibly do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about it. So from an international perspective, of course, we want to be able to serve all travelers everywhere. The airport experience internationally is hard. It's very highly regulated. It's something that, again, exactly to your point, something that we spent a lot of time doing, of course, was investing in those relationships with TSA and DHS. From the airport side, from an international perspective, that's not necessarily our focus today, but for our platform, growing internationally it is. So you can think Canada and Mexico coming online.
Yeah, of course.
And then we're committed to international expansion alongside partners. I can't speak specifically to the airport side of business, but at least on the platform side of the business, it's something we're very invested in and working on right now.
Branigan, I got another topic I want to talk to you about, but first, Jane, I got to ask you one more question about this. If I'm going through security there, why am I still showing my driver's license when I'm checking in with my airline of a choice? Is there any possibility to expand it to those as well? Because the airline that Anthony and I fly, they're going to be towing with facial recognition. I see the gear set up at gates to go in, but no one's using it yet.
You mean when you're actually boarding your plane?
I was actually, I see that, but I actually meant when I'm checking into my flight and giving them a bag or something like that.
Oh, yeah. So, yes, definitely something that we're working on.
All right, great. Perfect. And Branigan, what about other uses? What if you're utilizing this to confirm somebody's identity? I guess if we get to a point, it'll be able to help stop fraud and potentially human trafficking as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I won't name names, but we've seen some clients that have struggled with fraud in the past, hotels that have been, targeted by certain, groups of fraudsters using fake credit cards, et cetera. Yep. When we've implemented identity-based solutions at those hotels, we've seen fraud basically go to zero, especially when it's the mandatory path that people need to take.
Right, because unlike that popular John Travolta movie from back in the day, you can't just switch people's faces and stuff like that, right? So you can get a fake credit card, but you can't get a fake face. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Exactly. And, you can book a room under any name. You can put a credit card on it. There's not always logic running behind the scenes to make sure that stuff is legit. And so when you're checking in with an identity-based platform, we're doing a lot better job, Clear specifically, in this case of making sure they are who they say they are. And so if you are a fraudster, for a living, and you are really not that interested in taking a selfie and scanning a picture of your ID that will pass the system, because now that becomes part of a record that could potentially be used in prosecution for fraud. So that's something that's definitely of consideration. And if you look at true fraud in the hotel industry, just in the US alone, it's almost $4 billion a year that is lost to true fraud.
Wow.
So that's a significant amount of money that's just walking out the door, not for friendly fraud or canceled reservations, actual fraud related instances. That's roughly the number nationally.
Wow. And
then if you translate that over to, the potential fight against human trafficking at hotels, and that is a real thing, gets a lot of coverage. This becomes a way to better protect against those types of things happening at your properties. And I don't think anybody would want that to happen, but it's a very hard thing to prevent unless you put a system like this in place that can sort of catch the fake identities in advance and help track movements and other things that can be used to put a stop to this kind of thing. So if you're a hotelier, like this is, it is the future. It is coming. And whether you do it to save money on fraud, or whether you do it to stop human trafficking, or to improve the guest experience, or to save money on the front desk, like there's a lot of reasons to do it. I think it should be a no-brainer.
Where are we at with consumer sentiment on these particular issues? Because Jane, I'm happy and thrilled to give my face to the good folks at Clear, but for some reason I'm a little uncomfortable to do that same facial recognition to actually board my flight. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are much more conservative about that at this point. Do you see that's kind of changing, or maybe it's just something I'm perceiving that doesn't exist?
No, I think that exactly what you're perceiving is true. And I think that it is what a lot of consumers and frankly, like travelers feel. And one of the differentiators with us is that we are 100% opt-in platform. So it is only when you are choosing to actively use Clear that you will be using Clear. And we have spent a lot of time and are going to continue on educating our members and our hopeful members, making them feel really comfortable, having them understand what it is that we do. We like to do everything in plain English. We don't confuse people. We don't want to like trick them into understanding or not understanding something different. And I think that that's really helpful. And I think that, when you see the Clear logo, that stands for trust.
And I was going to say, you've earned my trust. And you brought up that word. Yeah, absolutely.
And security, it's our number one priority, and that will always be unwavering.
Yeah, Anthony? And that's true. You have gained trust of the people that use you. But Glenn, you are uncomfortable using facial recognition to get on a plane?
I threw Clear, but when they're putting it up, that's just my knee-jerk reaction to every new technology that comes along. Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to do that just because they're asking for it.
Really?
Right? I'm not saying it's rational.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. But why would I need to show my face again if I've already gone through all that? They haven't done that.
I think
they haven't done that second ID show in years.
Possible.
What's that?
Your face should be shown as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Right there. Branigan, any future? How's the future looking for you guys? The expansion plans and stuff like that.
So for us, and we hope this is all in partnership with Clear. We're working with both kind of medium-sized brands and a few of the large brands at the moment on plans to embed our technology within their ecosystem. So it's not so much about like slapping you in the face with Verdi branding or anything like that. Like we really want to elevate the brand of the hotels and power that digital guest experience in a way that's like people get used to.
Yeah.
They expect it as they travel. And so, I hope to be able to come back in, the next 6 months to a year and announce a couple big brand partnerships and tell you about the rollouts and how that's all coming about. But of the clients that we have, we're expanding pretty broadly. And recently we also became a brand standard at two kind of medium-sized brands. And so those haven't announced yet, so I won't steal the thunder.
That's too bad.
But very exciting for us as a company.
Awesome.
But if you can really get, since we're short-staffed in our industry, if you can get the technology to clean the rooms, you'd really have something special.
Exactly. Well, we're starting with the front desk.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. Jane, before we wrap up, any final thoughts from you?
No, I really appreciate this. And I think that it's, I feel like I selfishly am solving my own problems every day when I come to work. I want to be able to get off the plane and check into my hotel and go directly to my room and not have to stop or be interrupted. And I'm happy that I can do that at Mirage. And I'm even happier that we're able to bring that to life with the team at Verdi.
Listen, I get annoyed when there's one person ahead of me online at a select service hotel, let alone the throngs that are trying to get into the biggest resort.
The only time I get upset is when I have to stand in line to check into a hotel.
Yeah, consumer behavior has changed. I mean, we have gotten conditioned to tapping a button on our phone and in 15 minutes tacos show up at our door. Like that is, we have to meet that moment and that demand. And frankly, like consumers are much more sophisticated than they were 3 and 5 years ago. That is the expectation. We're here to beat it.
And especially now with rates going up, service standards really haven't gotten to that level. People are still, they're like, it's like if you run a hotel company, you're blind to what's happening on the service standard. You're just looking at the rates and what you can drive in rates. And so the consumer really doesn't really, they understand you're not going to maybe match the rate that you're charging, but we don't want to stand in line. We want a clean room, and we don't want to be charged for stuff that we're not getting provided. So if you check me in quickly, you don't give me this ridiculous resort fee, and the room's clean, you're probably not going to hear from me. And that, but if you put me online and I'm paying $300 more than I know I paid last year, and I'm staying online for an hour, you lost me. And I'm probably writing the bad comment online.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, a good point.
Stay in the green room for a minute if you have a minute, because I want to talk to you. We have a new show launching called Hotel All Stars, and let's talk about how we can feater you guys on the show.
All right, so hang out. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you go to Virdee, VIRDEE.io, and clearme.com. And hopefully I'll see you on line at the airport real soon. See you guys later. Well, you won't see me on the line at the airport because I got clear. All right, I'll see you guys later. Anthony, I was at the LA airport, and I got through clear in 2 seconds, but then I got for some reason they wanted to pull me over. You know how every once in a while you get a rando check from the TSA, and Wolfgang Puck was standing right next to me. We both got pulled over on the sidelines at the same time. So it was real fun to be able to share that experience.
And when you have those moments with someone like that, do you let him know you know him? I had that similar thing with somebody, a UFC fighter you would know.
He actually made me a salmon pizza at the opening of his restaurant at Borgata like 15 plus years ago. So I mentioned something to him about that, and we laughed.
I'm sure he remembers that. I'm
sure he does not remember that. But
I had with this UFC
that was a long time ago.
I had a UFC fighter in line with me, the same situation, and he said, "Nice haircut." I said, "Nice haircut," and I love what you do in the ring. So anyway,
nice, beautiful.
Listen, clear brings people together.
It sure does. And if the TSA is making you wait a little while, why not download our podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your shows. And of course, if you're listening to us right now, watch us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn, although I got to change that because I got kicked off Twitter at some point, and I have no idea why. And my account's just gone. So don't find me on Twitter because I'm not there. Yeah. Meanwhile,
I don't think you're losing much.
I know. Meanwhile, I'm not. That's why I'm not concerned about it. Meanwhile, everyone, remember you got one life, so blaze on that.
Be kind to yourself.
We're back tomorrow, I think, with a recorded show. See you then. Bye.